We have arrived in the village, town, bustling metropolis of Swan, and I have barrier magic. Another change from the NES game. Barrier does not put the fun little deedly-deedly-dee around you. That's the scientific name for it, the deedly-deedly-dee. Doesn't put that around you, you just glow different colors instead. Not quite as fun. Sleep. So we have a dance hall. Fun times. And interestingly, there is no Dragonia guard presence in this town, like there is in the NES version. Which guy? That guy? Okay, so we're finding Kensu. One of the trickier puzzles in the original game. In this version, they spell it out for you a little bit more, what you're supposed to do. But finding Kensu in the NES version can be tricky. If you're totally lost, you can always refer to your telepathy spell and get some hints from the wise men. Depending on where you are, you may or may not get any useful hints, but they do, at least in the NES game, tell you to use paralysis on people to unveil their true form. So, instead of that guy just beating you over the head with that information, how would you know about that, Sleep? So looking for Kensu is a little... I feel like Kensu himself is more obvious in the NES version because he says things like, "Hey, have you seen that great guy Kensu anywhere?" Like, okay, you're odd. I'm gonna paralyze you. But here in this game, he's just a regular dude, and his dialogue doesn't really give him away. It's other people. So here, and if you're attentive, you'll notice that this person that Kensu was changed into was not here the first time when you walked in. Okay, so he has taught me the magic of change, so now I can abuse my polymorph ability, and instructed me to go west to Chiron, or Chiron, if you prefer. I always said Chiron. I'm a girl, or maybe a wagon filled up with pancakes. Really, that's all you have to say to a young lady? I am disappointed. There's not a good crop of people in this town telling me the same thing. Okay, how about this? Okay, polite good day. Everyone went to the same school and learned how to greet people the same way. What do you have to say to Stom? Remember Stom? Who says he sparred with children stronger than me? I'm just a stranger. Okay. So, guard! Yes! So in the NES version, there's a guard walking around town, and it's interesting because in the NES version, you talk to people in your different disguises, and some of them do more than just give you default response because you're a girl, or because you're Stom, or because... Yeah, like these guys, for example. Sure, I'll watch the gate. Go grab some food. Of course you can't attack while your form is changed. And of course the other guards can see through my disguise, or else they're just doing target practice at nothing. That's new. War machine out in the field there. Although it looks like it's poised to attack the town that they already have control of, so I don't know. See, you respond to me differently, but why doesn't anybody else? Nobody wants to talk to the guard, not even the guards. That's a little disappointing. One of the little touches that isn't present in this game that takes away from the experience a little bit. Hang on, was there another catapult? There is another catapult here in the yard, and it looks to be the one to the right of the building I was just in. And it looks to be aimed about exactly the same direction as the other catapult. Do they, like, try and launch their rocks from one catapult to the... Oh, okay, not going in there. They try and launch their rocks from one catapult to the next and try and land, you know, sort of like lacrosse or something? Siege engine lacrosse. Do I need to go to the inn? I could probably stand to go to the inn. 300! That's exorbitant. I refuse to pay your prices. Pay my own healing prices. Magic is free. Okay. Now I need to pay for magic. Magic is not free. Wah! These guards, I still think, are fun to fight. This is a fun place to level up because it's the same general AI as everything else we've found out in the fields that throws or launches stuff at you, but something about firing the arrows and the way they tend to congregate and just their walking animation, all of that, just feels sort of like they're on guard duty and they're not just random wandering monsters. I don't know, I like it. I'm gonna try out this barrier spell. Stab. See how effective it is at protecting me from projectiles. And not bats! Broken wagon wheel out here, another nice, random, unnecessary touch, but I like it. Ow. Okay, now I'm gonna try barrier. See, passes right through me. That's pretty cool. So another strategy issue. Conserving magic points, using magic points. So I can either choose to spend a couple of magic points erecting a barrier that I know is going to protect me from shots, from arrows, or, boing, I can not waste that magic power, but risk getting hit by the arrow, and then spend even more magic points recovering my health. So it's a numbers game a lot of the time, but I think it's worth playing around with different strategies to try and figure out, well, really, what is the most effective use of my magic points? Which is, and if you take items into account, I'm just having too much fun bouncing around here. If you take items into account, it's the same deal. Magic, in general, can be more easily replenished than items, so waste all your magic first, and then dip into the items that can achieve the same effect. Yeah, maybe not all the time, but some of the time. Okay, so I'm just exploring the perimeter of the desert here. This desert music's okay. I miss the other desert music, the original desert music. But this is okay. It fits. Nice little oasis here. Ah, so here is where you can sort of get a head start on the rest of the game. I don't really want to do the whole thing, but I'll explore a little bit here. So, I have been instructed, they give you explicit instructions, whee, to, I have to remember that, maybe come back here later. They give you they give you explicit instructions to head out to Sharon, the fort that's over up on the mountain, and they tell you go there next, but you can detour to this cave if you so desire. The benefit of going here first, sort of like sequence breaking in Metroid, getting some of the items before you're really supposed to, is that you're stronger, better prepared for some of the challenges that don't really expect you to have some of the things. So in this cave, which is one of the most confusing mazes in the game, it's just very large, and it's all rivers and walls. There are a couple items in this cave that you can obtain. You've got the battle armor, which is not that easy to get in the NES game. That's, like, way the heck buried around there. I now have the second best armor in the game, which also happens to protect me from poison. Should not be that easy to get. But I have it. So, you have the battle armor. Really worthwhile getting. And saves you a lot of money, of course, too, buying armor in the meantime. But there's that. There are the leather boots, which... See, barrier. Saving me a lot of magic points, recovering my health. And it's just fun to do. Switches up the combat a little bit. Leather boots, which instead of using the rabbit boots to jump through poisonous, hazardous areas like the poison desert that I was just going through, you can walk on spikes and poison patches and hot desert and that sort of thing without any penalty, without damage. And I'm using my strategy here of only forming ice bridges, only knocking down walls when I choose to finally go over that path, and there's no other place to explore first. So that helps me keep track of where I'm going in this section. So you've got your battle armor, which should not be that easy to get. It isn't in the NES game. And you've got your leather boots, which are relatively easy to get. And then you've got the power ring, which you won't be able to get. It's hidden behind an iron wall that you can only blow up with a level 2 Sword of Thunder, which we have not acquired yet. So that's also worth getting as soon as you're able. There's really no point where you need to go in this cave, except in the NES version to get the power ring to boost your attack power high enough to be able to defeat the penultimate boss, which they don't really tell you about, and that's kind of a surprise, so that's something they've cleaned up here a little bit, or a lot of it. But it's worthwhile to make a trip into this cave to find stuff. However, the last spell that you learn is a flight spell. So if you really don't have the time and patience to get caught up in this maze, because this can easily take you 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes. I mean, it really depends on how lost you get, and if you die a lot because of the enemies. But there's a flight spell that you can get later in the game. Leather boots! And that will allow you to fly over the rivers. Don't even need to worry about forming ice bridges. Makes this place a cinch. You can just zigzag back and forth until you're sure you've cleaned everything up. But if you delve into it now, you get the benefits now. So there you go. Side quest. And it is easier in this Game Boy Color version than before, because previously, in the original version, you had the beetle bug things. The flying beetle bug things. Kind of like you saw in the swamp way back. And they have wings, and they paralyze you. They just go around spreading paralysis dust. And now we have, like, the scorpions in here who don't belong in this cave. That's okay, I like having them here. They're another one of those enemies that only shows up in, like, one spot in the entire game, so it's nice to see them elsewhere. I think they're cool to have here. But in the original game, you've got the beetle things flying at you, paralyzing you, which is really difficult when you're trying to build ice bridges everywhere and can't charge up your sword because you're paralyzed. And this is different from the cave where we were getting the fog lamp before, because that's simply beating up enemies. That's just regular fighting enemies. Whereas with the bug things that are flying after you, really hard to dodge them in such a narrow space. And if you're not high enough level in the NES game, you can't damage them at all. So it's even more challenging. So this is another area that does benefit from the changes of the Game Boy Color version. It's still a little bit of a pain. But after playing this game all these years, even if I don't remember exactly which way to go, I've got enough of a memory for it. I'm like not going off of a map or anything. I've got enough of a memory for it that I can sort of mentally track which path I've gone down and which one I need to remember to go to. I'm usually pretty good about it. March, 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 March. April, April, April. June, June, June. Okay. Another ice bridge. Getting closer. And I will need to come back here later, and I promise you I will speed through that next time. But now you've seen! You've seen! Okay, I'm back in here now, again. What am I doing? Oh, I forgot. I think I forgot one... Yes, I forgot one thing. Woohoo! That's so satisfying. Just, you can't hurt me. Make sure I've explored my other way that I haven't gone to yet. So let me see. Is there anything interesting to say? Anything I haven't talked about yet? Game design. In the aforementioned playthrough of the NES version of Crystalis, Jetty, GameCola.net's editor-in-chief, discusses game design and talks about Crystalis in a negative light sometimes, talking about that old Nintendo, that classic style of game design, where there's a lot of things that don't really make sense, you kind of got to figure it out for yourself, and there's not a lot of guidance. There's some really painfully obnoxious enemies that are just very difficult, unnecessarily so. A lot of ways to get lost, a lot of superficial extension of the gameplay, that sort of thing. And I can understand some complaints about Crystalis, because yeah, there are some parts, especially in the NES version, that are confusing, that aren't explicitly laid out for you, and there are some parts that are kind of difficult. But I would also argue that game design can't just be criticized by your gut reaction to it. The first time you play a game, or if it's the first time you played a game in a long time, you've forgotten about some of the things, I feel like you need to look at it through the perspective of the game designers first, before really just applying your gut reaction to it and saying, I don't like the game design here, this is not good game design. You need to play by the rules that the game presents. So you look at the original Super Mario Bros., for example. If you want to play through the game without jumping, it's not going to be a fun or a very long experience. But it's unfair to criticize the game for bad game design if you are not jumping, because jumping is a key part of the game. The whole purpose, the drive of the game, is to provide platforming challenges. I know I can't do anything with this guy yet, so I'm going to come back later. So, criticizing Super Mario Bros. For having poor game design because you don't want to play by the rules of running and jumping over everything, it means that there's something that the player needs to change. It's not necessarily bad game design. Oh, and here are all of the vigilantes, the villagers in the village of Leaf, the people I rescued from the evil clutches of General Kelbask out on the mountain. So they're all back, huzzah. So game design. You've got a game like this, Crystalis. And what does the game expect of you? It expects you to explore, fight some monsters, solve a couple puzzles. What tools does the game give you? Oops, did not mean to teleport. I wanted to talk, not teleport. What tools does the game give you to accomplish those goals of exploration, fighting, puzzle solving? If you get stuck, it gives you a telepathy spell. You can talk to the wise men and get some clues. There are villagers galore. It encourages you to talk to people. The NES game, you simply bump into somebody and you talk to them. You don't even need to press a button. So you will necessarily, just by walking around clumsily, knock into a bunch of people who are like, hey, watch where you're going. By the way, I have some help for you. Here's a clue. So you've got townspeople who can provide you with information. And that's just a general RPG thing, going back to talk to people to figure things out. And you've also got a wide variety of weapons and spells, more important in the NES version because of all the weapon switching that's necessary to injure things in the first place. But the NES version establishes fairly early on that you need to be a certain power level to damage certain monsters at all. That's a harsh reality to wake up to the first time, but after you realize that, then leveling up becomes fairly important. And if you're struggling with the regular enemies in an area, if there's any chance of a boss coming there, it's probably something that you're looking for, saying, oh, I should probably level up a little more because I'm having so much difficulty with these guys, and I know that there are enemies that cannot be damaged at all. So the game sort of trains you, if you're being attentive and really listening and looking at what the game wants you to do with it and what tools it offers to do that. For example, the paralysis spell. Level 3 bracelets. Not using level 3 bracelets. All of the different items. The barrier spell. It gives you a lot of different ways to play the game. So if you're struggling with certain enemies, if you can't fight certain enemies, you have plenty of options for switching up your tactics. So it's not necessarily bad game design if you, the player, aren't using everything the game has to offer. And here I've used my change spell. I'm a woman! Temporarily. Oh, this is different. So they've, because I'm a woman in the man-hating village, they now let me in to see the queen. And I have this plant, the Carissa plant. Yay! Which in the NES version was for perfume, as I recall. And now I have a bow of moon. Great. And, surprise! I'm not really a girl! Okay, I guess I deserve to get dragged out. It's just funny how quickly she turns on me like, oh, this wonderful thing that you've done for it. Get out, man! But I think it's interesting they also completely revamped the dialogue there, because in the original game, she's all about fashion and, like, stereotypical girl things. Like, hunting is important, but fashion and beauty are so much better. Like, they've changed the dialogue now. So I got the Blizzard bracelet a lot earlier than I was supposed to, but I haven't used it yet, aside from demonstrating it once, so let's put it to use now. It's not very good. All of those magic points, and you didn't even kill anything! Seriously. Well, that's better, but 2 rounds of that? It's not as good as in the NES version. I miss the swirly attack pattern that flows out from you. That's really cool. Or the pulsating shield barrier kind of thing. Very cool. Blizzardy cool. I wonder if it was a space limitation or something like that they had to change the attack pattern. Or if it was deliberate, they thought it would work better or be more balanced or something this way. Yay! I have gained a level. I am level 11. Normally... take that, my magical barrier magic. You cannot touch me. Normally, I am a little bit stronger. You can touch me. Going into here, something like level 12, maybe. Try and level up a little bit more, but Game Boy Color level does not matter so much. So, not going to take the time to fight things. Now, going into this next area, we are quickly approaching the end of my favorite longest-running section, of the game. You are not supposed to be firing stuff at me. That gunk is reserved for the blobs out in the desert, and I should also not be able to take you out while you're in your puddle form. The NES game has you being totally invincible. Just the sword attack passes right through you until you've coalesced into your facey form. Speaking of faces, there's one of those iron wall faces in the cliffside there. That's really cool. So those blob enemies are not so bad here. They're annoying in the NES game because they have such a long period of invulnerability when you just need to sort of dodge them and they move erratically. And those guys, the one that I just beat, very difficult to get around, especially on the smaller screen here, the Game Boy Color screen. They sneak up on you even faster than in the NES game, so it can be very difficult to avoid taking damage from them. They would probably be good to use paralysis on, but of course I wasn't thinking about doing that. I just take the damage. It's because of these two enemies, and also the twisting mazes up on the north part of the mountain, that I'm not so fond... I still like this part of the game, but I'm not so fond of this section, the Mount Hydra section. So it ends the long-running streak of I love this game as to just I like this game now. And this is interesting. I can pass by these guys. They're expecting me. I don't need to turn into Stom.